Hello and welcome to our virtual science expo. My name is Bailey, and in this video I'm going to be taking you through two different activities. I'm going to be going over thermal spirals and updrafts in action. Usually I only do one activity per video, but both of these are fairly short demonstrations and they are directly linked by their topic, so I will be going over both of them. If you'd like to follow along, you can click on the link just below this video and find our detailed activity guide and just look for thermal spirals and updrafts in action. That will provide to you the procedure of what I'm doing and some further discussion. So, for thermal spirals, the things you will need, your supplies, are going to be a paper plate. I already have this one cut up for the activity, but I will explain how to cut it up. String, scissors, and a heat source. I am using a toaster. I would highly recommend using a toaster as a heat source. I do have a hairdryer up here, but that is for the other activity. It's for updrafts in action. A hairdryer will not work for this activity. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your paper plate and you're going to cut it into a spiral like I have here. So just one nice cut until you have this nice spiral shape, and then you're going to take your string and you're going to tie it to the center point so that you can hold it from the middle and it hangs down like this. And this is going to be what gives us our visual representation of what is going on here. So, both of these activities are about what creates wind and what wind can help create. Thermal spirals is going to be about what creates wind, and our focus question is what causes air to rise. You may already know or be able to guess based off of the supplies that I have here, but I just turned my toaster on. I'm going to let it get kind of hot. Wait until I can feel some of that heat. I think it's good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold this up by the top of the string so that you can see it, and then when I put it over the toaster, see if anything changes. Got a nice gentle spin going. The more the toaster heats up, the faster that this paper plate actually turns around itself. So this is all because heat causes air to rise. And you might be wondering, I've heard that before, that hot air rises, but why? What is the scientific reason behind why hot air rises? And it all has to do with whether or not hot air or cold air is more dense. So hot air, as those air molecules heat up, they actually expand and they lift up because it's less dense than cold air, whereas cold air molecules, as they get colder, they condense down, and since they're more dense, they're actually going to sink. So that's why hot air rises and cold air sinks. So that's thermal spirals. Hopefully you know a little bit more about why hot air rises. And that is actually part of how wind is produced. But what we're going to talk about in updrafts in action is what wind can produce. So for this activity, what you'll need is a hairdryer and some different sized balls. So I've got some styrofoam balls, some ping pong balls, and we've got them in different shapes, or not different shapes, different sizes. And what this one's going to be about is how hail is created. So our focus question is what two things together cause a large hail to form? And I'm actually going to answer that question prior to doing the demonstration, that way it makes a little bit more sense. So what you need for hail to form is very strong updrafts, which is a really strong wind current, and super cooled water droplets. So I'm just going to say that, and I'm going to show you my demonstration. I'm going to turn this hairdryer on high. There we go. Put the balls in the stream. They kind of fall away. So, what was going on there? We can see that these updrafts, that's what the hairdryer is producing, allows hail to be suspended because hail is being modeled by our balls in this activity. And the two things that hail needs in order to be formed is those really strong updrafts, so a really strong hairdryer in this activity, as well as super cooled water droplets, which is what I said before. And so that really just means that if this is a water droplet and it's inside of a thundercloud, for say, the air around it has to be below freezing. That's what makes it a super cooled water droplet. So the air around the water is freezing, it freezes the water droplet, but you're having really strong updrafts or really strong wind currents that are suspending it in air the same way that this hairdryer does. Do it one more time. Now imagine that the air around this is actually freezing. It's freezing cold around it. That's what creates hail. And the stronger that that updraft is, the longer that this hail can be suspended in air and the longer that it will be surrounded by frozen air. And that's actually what causes hail to have different shapes. So if you have a really strong updraft, you can get really large hail. Whereas if you don't have as strong of an updraft, you're going to get smaller pieces of hail. So that is why you may have seen different sized hail in different regions just based off the storm itself. So hopefully that answers any questions that you have on wind and what it can create and how it is created. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks.